One of the things that we're really aspiring to do is to diversify our supply chain for success and profitability for soybean farmers.
Hello, and welcome to this edition of The State of Soy. I'm Michaela Jordan, joined today by Mike Steenhoek, who serves as the Executive Director for the Soy Transportation Coalition, and we're talking about how the soybean checkoff is advancing and improving infrastructure across the state and across the nation for soybean exports. Mike, the Soy Transportation Coalition recently made an investment in Port Milwaukee over in the Great Lakes region. Can you tell us a little bit about that port and what the investment is for?
Well, one of the axioms within the supply chain is don't put all of your eggs in one basket. So the more you can distribute those eggs across multiple baskets, and for the soybean industry, that includes places like the Mississippi Gulf, a big export region for us, the Pacific Northwest, the Atlantic coast, but it also includes the Great Lakes. And one of the things that we're really aspiring to do is to try to diversify our supply chain by including investments in places like the Great Lakes and St. Lawrence Seaway. When you do that, you're better positioned for success and profitability for soybean farmers. The more you can have a resilient, redundant supply chain is really important. So we were very pleased to make this investment of $200,000. $165,000 came from the Soy Transportation Coalition, $35,000 came from the Wisconsin Soybean Marketing Board to invest in what's called a Phase 2 expansion at the DeLong Company's Agricultural Maritime Export Facility. There has been export of soybean meal from that facility, including soybean meal originating from Iowa, but this Phase 2 is really going to further expand that. That it's allowing us to tap into another kind of set of customers, particularly in places like Northern Europe, North Africa, the Mediterranean, the Middle East. And then finally, one of the other big priorities for the soybean industry is finding new ways and avenues to export more soybean meal. So it really checks three of these really significant boxes that farmers are talking about, and so we're really pleased to be a part of it.
And here in Iowa, we have huge crush capacity, and being able to find places to send that soybean meal has been a challenge. Can you talk about the importance of these inland waterways and the role they play in overall exports?
Yeah, you think about soybean processing in the state of Iowa, you naturally think of the Pacific Northwest, and rightfully so. A lot of that soybean meal does go to places out in that area of the country, but there's other opportunities to move product actually in an easterly direction to go to places like Port Milwaukee. It's loaded then onto a vessel, and there's about a 4-day journey to get to the Atlantic Ocean, and then another 7-day journey to get to places like Northern Europe. And it's really a good opportunity to hit some of these other smaller markets. And so one of the things that we really need to do is have an all of the above kind of strategy when it comes to our supply chain. So investing in all of these different export regions, including the Great Lakes.
Mike, the farmer investment in these projects is critical to other funding sources. Can you talk about how that farmer investment generates return for everybody involved in this system through Port of Milwaukee?
Well, one of the things that farmers really pride themselves on is the investments that they make when there's a real ripple effect, when it can be leveraged to attract additional resources. And this is a really classic example of that. In addition to the companies themselves in the Port of Milwaukee, farmers were actually putting skin in the game. They were actually putting their money where their mouth is. And that all of a sudden enhanced the attractiveness of that grant application, increased the likelihood of success. And so at the end of the day, they actually received a $9.3 million grant through the U.S. Maritime Administration. Our real focus is on the cost of moving soybeans or soy products from where it's grown to its ultimate destination. And you have this transportation cost number, and that cost number is a function of a trucking aspect to it, there'll be a barge aspect to it, a rail aspect to it, and an ocean vessel aspect to it. And our focus really does need to be on attacking that number, that cost number. Because the reality is, the bigger that number is, that cost number, transportation is an obstacle to farmer profitability. We want to be engaged in subtraction math, and that's really the focus of our organization.
Through your investment in the soybean checkoff, you're helping improve infrastructure both in the state of Iowa and through the inland waterway system to ensure domestic demand and exports remain strong for your soybeans. Thank you, Mike, for all you do for the Soy Transportation Coalition and Iowa's farmers. Reporting for this edition of The State of Soy, I'm Michaela Jordan.
Progress is a human invention. We look at our world and we imagine how to make it better. That's the power of human ingenuity. we can redefine what's possible. At Bayer, we're shaping the future of agriculture. Like farms where all life grows together. It's not impossible, it's progress.